today to discover how enterprise mobile applications are transforming the enterprise. My name is Natalie Musa, and I'm going to run through a few housekeeping items before I introduce our speakers for today. The webinar itself will be about 40 minutes, followed by a question and answer period. If you have a question during the presentation, please just type it in the questions box, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end of the presentation. We have two speakers for today from our mobile practice, and now I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, DJ Dang, Senior Manager at Pactera. I hope you all enjoy the webinar.
Thanks, Natalie. Again, thanks for everyone for joining this webinar. My name is DJ Dang, and I'm responsible for growing our mobile practice here for our U.S. Consulting Business Unit. Before we get started, please allow me to introduce Pactera again. We are one of the largest global IT consulting service providers based out of China. We have a very strong set of mobile technology capabilities ranging from mobile device testing, carrier FCC acceptance verification, to mobile strategy and solution development for both consumers and enterprises. To put things into perspective, we have about 150 mobile developers covering the major platforms and about 1,000 mobile testing professionals working for some of the largest companies in the mobile industry. Enterprise mobility is a major trend in corporate IT. Based on Gartner's annual CIO survey, mobile technologies has become one of the IT's top priorities for the past 2 consecutive years. Personally, I won't be surprised to see it becomes a top priority again for 2014. But if you dig a level deeper, mobile, specifically enterprise mobility, is also a challenging task for every IT organization because of the following. First, people. People entering today's workforce have expectations of enterprise mobile solutions far beyond that of the previous generation. They need enterprise mobile apps, just like the personal, non-business mobile solutions, to suit their unique productivity requirements. Proliferation of devices, form factors, and operating systems. Today, to develop enterprise mobile solutions, you need to have a comprehensive platform release strategy to address your device portfolios. My colleague Jeff will talk about this in more details later. Mobile technologies and development frameworks are also rapidly evolving, and it makes it very difficult for IT organizations to ramp up their internal expertise. Lastly, security and IP protection is a big risk for enterprise mobility. Protecting your data in transit as well as data at rest is a mandate. Sometimes you have to make design compromises due to the limitation of the frameworks you're based on. For instance, today, good dynamics does not support video streaming. Without it, the mobile app could still stream video through the device native media player, but the content is not quote-unquote secured. Would you or would you not support this feature? To summarize, all these makes building a sustainable enterprise mobile program challenging and yet exciting. I hope this webinar would provide you with insights, best practices to grow your mobile program. With this, I'll turn this to Jeff to cover the rest of this webinar.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeff Griffin, and my background is purely focused on mobility. Most recently, I've directed large-scale consumer and enterprise mobility efforts for Fortune 50 companies in the retail and financial services industry. Previously, I've worked as a technologist and marketeer for various aspects of mobility, including phone-based client-side features as well as server-side implementations. Today, I help enterprises with their mobile strategies. So let's begin. We're going to cover a few key points here, but we're going to start off with benefits and costs in your business trade-offs. All business activities have trade-offs, and a mobile program is no exception. These trade-offs can be broken down into benefits and costs. By examining each, we can start to understand the why of the mobile program from a strategy viewpoint. On the cost side, we have development costs. These are per platform, and that's iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, and others, and also include back-end interfaces required to mobilize your information. Let's not forget quality assurance at this point either. Testing is key for each piece of code developed for each platform. Next up on the cost side, we look at ongoing costs. These are generally considered maintenance, but there is a new mobile spend to maintenance costs. These costs are per code base and can also include each platform as well as the back-end interfaces. Mature mobile programs generate considerable maintenance cost over time. Finally, on the cost side, we have risks. These include everything from information security to device security and device loss. Each has its own impact, and each should be planned for accordingly. These risks help drive key design questions and help structure policy up front so that the program operates within reasonable guidelines while being effective. On the benefits side, we have tangible and intangible benefits. The tangible benefits should migrate from key use cases and be readily measurable as cost savings or efficiency improvements. In fact, the tangible benefits should drive success metrics and key the project as a whole. But don't forget about intangible benefits. In this day and age, your business needs to leverage advanced technology. Without it, your employees feel as if they're being left behind. They can feel as if the business either does not understand technology or is unwilling to invest in their success. Perception is a key driver in program success and should be taken into account for your mobile program as well. If the program is well received, you can reap the rewards as increased tangible benefits. The process to solve your approach to mobile is a multivariable equation. To answer these questions, you first dig into the why. The net benefit is the key driver for the other questions. In many cases, the net benefit articulates the maximum budget, the target device population, and the critical use cases. The net benefit can also drive tooling and help answer the other questions as well. We'll move on to the what. What translates directly into atomic use cases. These are the streams of tasks that must be completed for the benefit to be realized. Keep in mind that each of these can shift as the other questions are answered. That's what makes this multivariable process interesting. Next is the when. The project timeline is not only the initial product launch, but also the rough draft of future features and platforms to cover. How much should be in the initial launch? What should the pace be moving forward? Where is next up? This not only includes the devices and platforms, it also includes the physical place and context where the app will be used. Is it outside? Does it require wide area connectivity? Will it need to work offline? How? Well, this is usually left up to the techies. There should be a mix of front-end and back-end technologies and a nice set of very pretty pictures explaining how everything works. Should we develop native applications? Is mobile web good enough? What about cross-platform development tools? What needs to change in our infrastructure? Who? This question covers both the audience and the creators. Answering this question will help determine training requirements, deployment characteristics, and staffing needs, including budget. Who will use the app? What is their level of comfort with new technology? Who will develop the initial solution? Who will maintain the solution after launch? There is another level to this process as well. Each of these questions has primary and secondary stakeholders that should own the decision-making process. For what, the business should take the lead, but technical and finance resources are necessary to decide scale and scope. For when, business again gets the call, but finance and technical resources are required to staff and fund a real plan. For where, it's business again. Understanding your device population and user context is key to building great apps. How? Now someone else gets to drive. The technical folks answer this question. Finance is next in line because cost always matters. Finally, we move to who. Finance gets to drive this equation. Both the audience and the developers impact the benefit and the cost. To build a good business case, finance should handle both. Pactera would be happy to use our structured model to assess your mobile strategy and provide concrete recommendations today. Let us help you make the right choices up front. So let's go into detail for each of those bullet point questions. For the what, we will cover functional, inspirational, and technical. We'll start with functional. This is literally what the app needs to do to be successful. This includes enterprise favorites like communication, and that's email, instant messaging, text, voice, etc. Collaboration, everything, including SharePoint, and workflow, and that could be either Salesforce or Fieldforce automation, including the Salesforce app. Moving to Inspirational, we're looking at all facets of the user experience. And this includes interactive design, visual design, and system response times. A user-based perspective will help drive the proper requirements to make a successful project. And finally, we follow up with technical. In this case, these are the technical changes that are required to your existing systems to enable the overall solution. These changes are likely to include new REST interfaces, possibly new server hardware, and quite likely some new security infrastructure. Moving on to the when. In a larger sense, when drives the product roadmap. Larger program focus and defined net benefit, the why, gives clear targets for where to invest first. Most projects start with some requirements, feasibility, and prototyping work. They quickly move into development, which could be iterative or agile or waterfall, pick your process. But after the development work is complete, there's a quality assurance segment where they will function, system, and possibly load test your solution. Then you have launch, quickly followed by maintenance and monitoring. The monitoring piece is important, and we will spend some more time later going through metrics for mobile. These insights will drive further focus and investment. One key side note, when developing native apps, launch may include a dependency on App Store reviews that could take an extra couple of weeks and impact your schedule. As you wrap up development and move closer to launch, you can start developing for new platforms or features. Each of these projects can overlap with each other, but the bottleneck quickly becomes QA and testing. Your overall pipeline will be gated by your testing capacity. Finally, don't forget to leave some extra horsepower in reserve for maintenance updates. We will discuss that more in detail later as well. Where? This is a broad topic that includes the myriad target devices as well as the physical location, the context, and the connectivity. On the device side, deciding which devices to serve can be difficult. On the one hand, you've got a pretty good idea of what people are using today, but on the other, your population will change over the next 6 months as well. Each new device supported comes with its own cost. Geographies, where are the users? Do they move from place to place? Context. Usage context is critical in creating a successful solution. Everything from sitting on the couch to walking the factory floor is included and drives very different designs. And finally, we have connectivity. This piece is critical because it drives key technical and business requirements. Does the device need to work offline? Will it always be connected to Wi-Fi? Is the server required to be up 24/7? Do you need ongoing data connectivity charges for your wide area network solutions for your employees? So moving on to the how. This covers the mix of people and tools used to deliver the functionality. On the tooling side, you've got choices that include mobile web apps, those are HTML5, native development, hybrid development, and cross-platform tools. Each of these choices coincides with costs, timing, and experience, of course. On the resourcing side, you've got choices around who does the work. These include employees in-house, outsourcing, and offshoring. Each of these choices also has impacts on cost, quality, and delivery timing. And then finally, you can't decide these hows without understanding who supports the solutions over time. Maintenance plans need to be addressed proactively in the beginning. So we'll move into the next phase, and that's how to structure your mobile program and drive investment. Your mobile program starts with business needs. These needs drive the development of your core business systems. These systems typically have back-end components and legacy user interfaces. As you add mobile to your portfolio, you complete the access and context pyramid. But as you shift from traditional interfaces into the mobile space, mobile starts to drive your technology needs. If you design first for mobile, you solve the other problems as well and streamline operations. If your solution is already mobile, desktop, laptop, and web-based consumption is easy to adapt. This perspective permeates your technology stack and organizational structure until you pass all of your opportunities through a mobile prism. So as your organization adapts to mobile, the capabilities increase accordingly. Without going into detail, this model gives us a tool to identify your current mobile maturity level and shows the necessary steps to achieve the next levels of maturity. Most companies today fall into the first two levels, either no mobile presence or a non-optimized mobile presence. Many companies that have rushed into the mobile space, they end up at level 2 without a plan to move to levels 3 or 4, inform or enable. Without understanding why, many companies have mobile experiences, but they don't know how to upgrade to enable to release their true business value. At Enable, companies are thinking about their business in mobile terms. An understanding of technology, business process, and context can drive mobile innovation from the ground up. This is where great companies are building their future and a good place to target for your longer-term strategy to mobilize. So, growing mobility, where do you start? The first step, actually, is to set up a mobile center of excellence. These key functional skills will include user experience, mobile development across platforms, mobile infrastructure, and that includes mobile device management, mobile application management, and other tooling. Your own internal infrastructure, that can't be overlooked because you'll have to modify your infrastructure to be mobile over time. And then finally, analytics monitoring. As you begin to build out your mobile organization, the people you need are going to be trailblazers. They need to be comfortable with uncertainty. They're going to be required to venture into the unknown and define new processes to get their work done. This team will be used to check feasibility, build prototypes, and deploy smaller scale solutions, potentially for beta use. Step 2 is to blend that mobile talent into key initiatives. You use the Center of Excellence as an early resource for ongoing work. You pick a few projects and you push those projects as mobile first. By focusing on building out a few fully functional mobile projects, you can begin to introduce mobile to the greater organization and prove out your development and maintenance strategies. The best approach is to pick projects where you already have defined interfaces available so that you can iterate across your mobile platforms quickly. And step 3 is to use the Center of Excellence to cross-train the organization. The target is mobile first. By scaling your Center of Excellence across your functional areas, including user experience, development, operations, and infrastructure, you can nurture and expand and leverage your mobile knowledge and skills. And then you can shift your organization's perspective to be mobile first. So we've gone over a little bit of how to start building your mobile program and how to start building your mobile apps. Now let's talk about what I think is one of the most important factors, and that's measuring success. If you've been following the process, you are now positioned to start the measurement and feedback. The why is a critical driver. That determines the what. Once you understand the why and the what, then you have specific KPIs that you can develop that will measure your success against your goals. These KPIs should be considered up front as key requirements. The necessary technology, people, and processes should be in place before launch to ensure you are measuring your progress. And if you're set up to measure your progress, you can adjust your investment and effort to continue to meet your changing business needs over time. So let's go into a little bit of detail about what success looks like in mobile terms. Mobile solutions have a range of new and different success metrics. For one, you can measure application installs. Along with installs, you can also measure uninstalls. These metrics show you your overall coverage against your target population. You also get device types and operating system versions. While this is no different than traditional browser-based stats, these figures have much more impact on your overall usability. Screen sizes, touch capability, additional sensors, all of these factors come into play with your roadmap. Your install base today and your install base tomorrow provide you the data for your roadmap support decisions on your next projects. If you have native apps, you can get even more information. You can track app initializations, first starts, app starts, and refocus actions. These are in addition to installs and transaction-based data. Speaking of transaction-based data, you have access to that as well. Lookups and updates and other transactions are still available. In the more advanced implementations, you can even track partial transactions. These key indicators show when the users had the intention to transact but failed for some reason. Finally, mobile provides the possibility to get extremely rich, context-sensitive data on the quality of the overall experience. When your users can't transact, they don't care which piece failed. They lose faith and stop trying to work on their devices. With specific service-related information, you can pinpoint the breakdown in user experience and correct the problem with targeted efforts. Does the app crash? What causes the crash? Are the back-end services up and available 24/7? When you combine the metrics data real-time, you can begin to understand the quality of your work from an end-user standpoint, and you can address high-impact issues first. So let's move into a few specific case studies. We'll talk a little bit about application inertia. We're going to review a little bit of basic math for a few minutes, so bear with me. X times Y equals XY. To take it a little bit further, X plus 3 times Y plus 2 equals XY plus 2X plus 3Y plus 6. I know, everyone listening just had some bad flashbacks to algebra class. But stay with me, there is a key concept here to understand. If we continue down this vein and plug in some sample numbers, we get 2 times 4 equals 8. That makes sense, right? If we plug the same numbers into the equation below, we get 2 plus 3 times 4 plus 2 equals 30. So we've added a few to x and a couple to y, and we've come up with more than 4x our original answer. This is the magic of application inertia. If you unmask x and y as platforms and features, then you start to understand the net impact of building out more features and more platforms. The test effort required to launch an updated app never goes down and is always required to ensure good quality. Testing quickly becomes your bottleneck. How to mitigate this? Well, first you start with a sustainable architecture. You need to focus in on componentization and segmentation to help with dependency management. Next, you need to really target your platforms and features. Understanding that everything you build today is baggage for your releases tomorrow is key. And this points back to that why discussion. Finally, you need to partner with premier quality assurances organizations like Pactera who can help you scale your releases across platforms and reduce your cycle times. So let's talk a little bit about the next use case, or excuse me, the next case study. When you start trying to build out your mobile capabilities, everyone understands the urgency. The greater the coverage, the greater the impact, the greater the benefits. In other words, time is money and get this done yesterday. Getting coverage across your device population is the target, but there are tactical considerations to factor in. You start with your core APIs. These are the tools you already have in place today. Then you begin to build out your mobile capabilities. Typically, these are extensions to your core APIs. Then you add target platforms. Since time is money, the more the better. Everyone uses different devices. Each of these endpoints is a separate development effort and team. You can reuse some components and you can leverage some design techniques, but you still end up with different code bases because the usage context is different. When you have so many teams working simultaneously, you become extremely inefficient. The core API's changes are still development work. They may have a pretty good understanding of what to build, but until they build it and test it in the field, the code is not finished. So they have to work hand in hand with all of these teams simultaneously. This work requires close collaboration and communication. Changes on one side impact all the other sides directly. When you have multiple teams trying to collaborate in a shifting environment, you increase your communication overhead dramatically. Soon, everyone is sitting in meeting rooms and not writing code, and you waste valuable time. Well, how do you mitigate this effort? You select a platform to prototype with first. The criteria can be risk, a small population, resources, you happen to have the right skill sets, or impact, the biggest population. By trailblazing the client and server together, you can help set a baseline for the program. By limiting the initial development teams, you can cut down on wasted effort and mistakes. Once you've proven the concept and processed your feedback, you can quickly scale to other target platforms by leveraging contract resources as needed. This fast follower approach helps define requirements for the other projects, provides a ready-made, proven development environment, and allows for both speed and quality while building out the other components of an overall targeted approach. By taking a measured approach, you can gain early wins and show positive results to your stakeholders quickly. This tactic also helps justifying long-term business resources and helps build talent within your program. So I'd like to spend a little bit more time discussing why mobile maintenance is different than typical maintenance contracts. Your mobile maintenance strategy has to account for several layers of complexity. These layers include the hardware, the operating system, the development platform, whether that's native or hybrid, browser-based, cross-platform tools like PhoneGap or Accelerator or Worklight, and the app source code itself. But let's focus in on one key driver that makes mobile different, the operating system. As tech companies work to differentiate, compete, and optimize their tools, They are changing their programming APIs and behaviors on the devices. They deprecate and they update. They fix bugs. They add new features and functions. They change how activities or controls work. These changes to the platform can break how your applications work in the field today. Over the past few years, device manufacturers and telecoms providers have been working on solving the technical barriers to upgrade your software remotely. The good news is that you no longer have to send your device back to a service facility to get new software and fix bugs. The bad news is these software updates can also change the behavior of the platform itself. The operating system updates can break your deployed applications in the field. You do not control your dependencies. You cannot release a fix overnight. In fact, emergency releases can take up to 2 weeks to trickle through App Store reviews. So a large enterprise I worked with had this problem. They had millions of users, and they had built custom controls for authentication. Specifically, this control was for tablets and activated only when in landscape mode. A potential iOS upgrade was released in beta, and it broke the underlying API for this control. Those large enterprise users could no longer log in landscape mode. The large enterprise was active in the developer program and was proactive in testing the beta releases. The large enterprise was able to identify the issue, build in a fix, and spin a new release with a couple of days to spare before the iOS was released to the public. In this case, the story is positive and has a happy ending, but only because of the resources devoted to ongoing maintenance and the teamwork within the team. An outage would have been disastrous. Efficiency, image, and time would have been lost, not to mention the scramble to fix the issue would have derailed higher priority projects. Working with a partner who can help you understand the mobile horizon can help you focus your overall investment and reduce the ongoing risk of operational failure. And let's talk a little bit about some of the work that Pactera has been doing recently. We've been in the mobile business now more than a decade, and Pactera is already delivering best-in-class mobile solutions today. By leveraging our unique skill set and capabilities, we are helping enterprises leverage mobile technology to drive business results. These solutions are cost-effective, secure, and scalable. Our onshore-offshore development model is a perfect fit for large enterprises with comprehensive mobility needs. We can help you meet your objectives today. So are there any questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff and DJ. We have a few questions here on the line. I'll go through really quickly. The first one says, I like your framework, but how do you deal with organizational imperatives and legacy work that was done without asking those questions first? I have a large deployment today that I need help with. Jeff, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I think that's a great question and a problem that many organizations are struggling with today. And the simple answer is stop digging. Without answering these questions, your organization is suffering. You need to start with an honest assessment of the value add of your current mobile portfolio. Once you've finished that structured assessment, you can drive a technology migration plan to meet your needs. Then you can justify current and future investment and show true results.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Another good question we have that came in, mobile security is a critical risk factor for us. How do you address that? DJ, I'm going to let you answer this one.
Sure, thanks, Natalie. So we understand security risks, and we recommend strongly for data both in transit as well as data at rest. Information need to be secured. The device need to be secured when necessary. We use some of the established frameworks like good technologies and the secure technologies in our mobile solutions. We can also help with platform security discussions. Of course, we advocate remote device and application management as well, so that when there's a potential risk of device compromise, you will have all the tools, the abilities to control the information on the remote device side.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff and DJ. That will conclude our question and answer session. That's all we have time for today. We'll be sure to get to any other questions that were on the line personally. If you would like a copy of this webinar, we will be posting it to our Pactera US YouTube page later on today. And if you have any further questions, all the attendees will be receiving a follow-up email with our speakers' contact information. Thank you all for joining the webinar today. I hope you have a great afternoon.